two courts, Georgia Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court of the United States, are negatively impacting election integrity in 2026. Hello everybody and welcome to the Honor and Knowledge channel. In this video, we're talking about election integrity in 2026 and how it's being negatively impacted by justice being deferred or delayed by both the Georgia Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court of the United States. Let's take the Georgia Court of Appeals first. Yep, Fulton County's back here. Starting last year, there was a court case because the Fulton County Commissioners refused to fill two vacancies that they were supposed to fill with Republicans with the two Republicans that were provided by the Republican Party of Fulton County. This is in violation of the state law. The Fulton County Commissioners should have seated the two people, but they didn't. Why didn't they want to? Because these two Republicans knew very much about the election integrity issues that had occurred previously in Fulton County. They did not want these naysayers or whatever, these Republicans who understood what was needed in order to ensure election integrity going forward in Fulton County. The Fulton County Commissioners prevented them from sitting on the board. And yet the Elections Board is continuing its work. In fact, there were some state elections in the meantime. So the Republican Party took them to court and the commissioners lost the court case. The Republicans won. The judge said, yes, you're supposed to put the two Republicans on the Elections Board, and oh, by the way, a $10,000 a day fine until you do. They said, they being the commissioners, said they were going to appeal this to the Georgia Supreme Court. And the judge said, okay, and he paused the fines. And yet he did not order that the two Republicans be put on the board in the meantime. So, in the meantime, these two vacancies have still existed and the Republicans are not being properly represented on the Elections Board in Fulton County. So they went to the Georgia Supreme Court instead of the Georgia Court of Appeals. Why? Some people believe that it was all a delaying tactic. Well, it worked. The Georgia Supreme Court had it on their January agenda, January of this year, to listen to it. So I've been following that. It never occurred. So I followed up on that and found out from the Georgia Supreme Court that they had ordered that it be heard by the Georgia Court of Appeals. So the Georgia Court of Appeals put it on their February agenda. So I've been looking for that one. It's not there. So communicating with the Georgia Court of Appeals, found out that they're not having an actual hearing on it in February. They just are going to be reviewing the briefs. So they've got all the information necessary in order for them to make a decision right now. They need to get off their asses and get this settled. It's an easy decision. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that the Georgia Court of Appeals is going to find that, yes, the Republicans are correct. The commissioners are in violation of state law. They're going to direct that the Republicans be put on the Elections Board. And then what are the Fulton County commissioners going to do? They're going to appeal it to the Georgia Supreme Court. And what will the Georgia Supreme Court do? Probably put it on next year's agenda, not even for this year. So all the shenanigans that we've been talking about, all the shenanigans that the federal government has been investigating, all the shenanigans associated with the Fulton County elections in 2020 and 2024 and probably all the other time, they're just going to keep going on. And the Georgia state government should be ashamed of themselves. The Georgia state government, I can't believe, is just sitting back. Where is the media? This is wrong. We're a democratic republic, and everybody's vote is supposed to be the same. Well, guess what? By Fulton County being allegedly corrupt, they're going to be swaying the election in 2026. If they do that, that means Ossoff gets reelected, a terrible senator, and really should not be elected senator in the state of Georgia. Additional Congress people will get elected as Democrats. Shouldn't be occurring. So as Fulton County goes, so does the state of Georgia. Why? Because when you manipulate votes in a corrupt manner, if they do that, then what happens? The vote goes against the Republicans in 2026 in the state of Georgia. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Now, here's a shout out to the Fulton County Republican Party. Guess what? They have election news on their website. You know, we've always heard that story about because of a want of a nail, a horseshoe was lost, the horse was lost, king was lost, the battle was lost, the war was lost, the country was lost. You know what? Because of a lack of two Republicans being on the elections board to fill the vacancies that they should be filling, Fulton County Elections Board and the Fulton County Commissioners are being allowed to run amok. And as Fulton County goes, then Georgia goes. And as Georgia goes with Senate and House districts, that could swing the Senate like it did back in 2020. when Ossoff and Warnock got elected, which I think in a way was improper. That impacts me here in the free state of Florida because of the problems going on in Fulton County. Now let's move on to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the United States. Yes, they made that decision on the tariffs, but I don't care about that tariff decision. As I said in a previous video, I had trust in Secretary Bessent, and here is a headline from him just this morning. I believe Secretary Bessent, as I said in a previous video, had Plan B, Plan C, and Plan whatever in order to handle stuff. And along with Lutnick and Hassett and President Trump himself all being involved, this is not a problem for our country, I believe. You know what? That's not a big deal. But election integrity in 2026 and moving forward is. That's a huge deal. And the Supreme Court has been kicking a can down the road for 2 years now. There has been a case from Louisiana in the court system for several years. And 2 years ago, it came to the Supreme Court. They had a hearing on it and they delayed it until October of their next session, which just occurred last year in October. They have all the information they need in order to make their decision on the case of Louisiana versus Calais. Now, what is this one about? We've talked about it before. In the state of Louisiana, they have racial gerrymandered districts, 2 of them right now, which means they had to purposely draw their lines for their House districts not in accordance with what they wanted to do as a state, but as they thought they were required to do by the Voting Rights Amendment. Correction, Voting Rights Act, not amendment, that came from the 1960s. These were racially gerrymandered districts. Several states have racial gerrymandered districts. The problem is, it's against the Constitution. One person, one vote, all votes are supposed to be equal. Well, guess what? If you provide more power to a certain group, that removes power from another group. All power should be equally held by each individual. So this case of Louisiana, the state of Louisiana versus Calais, is all about stopping racial gerrymandering. The Supreme Court needs to get off their asses also, just like I said about the Georgia Court of Appeals. Make believe you were deployed like everybody in the Navy and the Air Force and the Army and that type of thing gets deployed. Don't go home, sleep on cots in your office, have food delivered, or cook it together so that you guys can talk. You know what? Probably would improve your teamwork. But on a serious note, election integrity for 2026 is being impacted right now, every day. Voting has already commenced for primaries in some states. You need to get off your asses, make this decision, which is easy. You guys all know what the answer is. Stop racial gerrymandering. You probably are wanting to just keep delaying it until the 2030 census. Then you probably hope that your decision will come out then and it'll all be taken care of. Well, guess what? It's time for you to be big boys and girls and make your freaking decision. My reading of everything is that it's a simple decision. Racial gerrymandering is a violation of the Constitution. Just like that one lawyer speaking in front of the Supreme Court stated, in the state of West Virginia, and I would add Massachusetts and other places, one of the 2 parties is a minority. They don't have their own House districts. For example, West Virginia, all the House districts are Republican. In Massachusetts, all the House districts are Democrat. There's a bunch of Democrats in West Virginia. There's a bunch of Republicans in Massachusetts. But you know what? There's no racial gerrymandering going on there to help out the white Democrats or the white Republicans. There shouldn't be any racial gerrymandering everywhere. I'm not saying it was that the people doing this back in the 60s were immoral. I'm saying they made a freaking mistake. They attempted to put in a remedy for something that had been occurring badly in our country, but they violated the Constitution in doing it. This should never have occurred this way. Racial gerrymandering means that some people's votes are worth more than other people's votes. That's not the way a democratic republic is supposed to go. But back to being very serious here. Today, the decision should be made. If you wait until tomorrow, that's another wasted day that states have to properly implement whatever they need to do to rectify, to remedy the problem of improperly, against the Constitution of the United States, having racial gerrymandered House districts. We need to stop it. I know that in Florida, that's a big deal. We're going to be redistricting. We need your decision now, Supreme Court of the United States. So please, I very respectfully say, get off your freaking asses and make the freaking decision and put it out there. You may not have people on the Supreme Court that are happy with the decision, but you know what? Tell them they got like 8 hours to write their freaking dissent. Because you are negatively impacting election integrity. You are disenfranchising some people by not making your decision. We need you to do the right thing, which is make the decision now. I know that the decision should be no racial gerrymandering, but you'd make your decision what you want. But stop dragging your feet on this one. So I'll end with saying it again. Georgia State Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court of the United States, get off your freaking asses and work. Make these two decisions that are important for the 2026 elections. Make them now, because justice delayed is justice denied. Stop denying justice. And if you wait long enough, there will be no remedy for the 2026 elections. And Ossoff, if you wait long enough, there is no remedy that you can put in place, and you all should be ashamed of yourselves. I'm very disappointed in you. You know what? I'm just shaking my head at you guys. So if you're a citizen of Georgia, why don't you call up your newspaper and your TV channels and say, where the hell are you with reporting the news to protect election integrity in the state of Georgia? And for House members, senators, Ted Cruz, Bondi, where are you with pounding the desk, demanding that the Supreme Court come up with their decision on Louisiana versus Calais? Now, for President Trump, my suggestion is don't even mention the tariff thing anymore. Thank you very much for everything you've done with regard to tariffs, but don't mention it anymore. You know that old Alcoholics Anonymous prayer? God grant me the courage to change the things I can, the patience to accept the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, guess what? The tariff thing, no big deal. I know this is a hard one for you, Mr. President, but move on. But in your State of the Union message, you want to make a comment about election integrity for 2026, and the Supreme Court needed to get off their asses in order to make a decision on Louisiana versus Calais. I'll be clapping there, along with clapping for our wonderful ice hockey teams. So spread the news. Subscribe if you want to. That would make me happier because, you know, I got 26 subscribers right now. More views, the better. Comment, great, because I always respond to the comments. Thank you for watching the Honor and Knowledge channel. And hopefully my prayers, maybe your prayers, will be answered and these two courts will actually get off their asses and make their decisions. God bless you. God bless President Trump and his administration. And God bless the United States of America. And thank you for watching the Honor and Knowledge channel.